There we go. Okay. Kind of flying by the seat of my pants today. But we're officially here. So hi, welcome in.
Hi!
We've got Rob here with us today. When we're all settled, we'll do a proper intro in a moment. But I've not ever done this on a stream before, so it's gonna be a little bit of a we're playing it by ear is what we're doing. So first of all, hi, hope you're all having a good day. No? Alright. Should we just launch into it, or I think we should just launch into it, actually.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, it feels weird doing the Misfits Haven intro on a thing like this, but you know what? Whatever, let's go. Hello! Welcome to the Misfits Haven. Thank you for stopping by. Grab yourself a drink and make yourself at home. We are serving whatever is in your fridge, and for me today, that is cream soda, and I have water on standby. We have Rob here with us again today.
Hi, everybody. And as for me, I am been slowly drinking my personal blend of Irish hot cocoa, which, among other things, includes Jameson.
That honestly sounds really good. Okay. So hopefully everything sounds good. Hopefully the music shouldn't be overpowering us. So yeah, this is the first time we've done Misfits Haven on stream. So this is gonna serve as, I guess, episode 3. So, you know, gonna be like a whole thing. It'd be wild. Yeah, so we are basically continuing our discussion on disability representation, like in media and I guess fantasy and stuff. And to be honest, I have no idea where to start. I have no idea. So I was gonna do this based on the comments that we got on our video from our last episode. Simon's the only one that commented, which I appreciate you, Simon. Also, thank you for the sub earlier. So I mean, I guess we could start there and then go to whatever, because I also saw a video about different kind of representation that I thought would be interesting to talk about. Anyway, I don't have Simon's comment open in front of me, but it was mostly just him talking about certain characters that he liked and stuff, one of which was Roy Mustang and what happened with him in Brotherhood.
Ah, yes.
So, I'm gonna be so sorry. I'm still getting my shit together.
Simon Oma
I'm working on it.
said, should I join to reiterate my comment?
That's a good question.
You actually might be able to. I might have to adjust some things on the fly here. You should be able to, yeah, if you want to. Actually wouldn't be against that. So
Simon Oma said rewards might be broken. My banana didn't sound.
Oh,
Tiff
yeah, hang on.
said, hi guys, got alcohol here? Lol.
Hang on, I need to mix it up again. I knew I forgot something. Wait, do I even have mix it up in here? I don't. Well, there's my problem. Shit. We don't have sound effects. I don't have a way to add that easily and quickly.
Tiff said, oh noes, system's drunk again.
No, I literally... So, basically, I made an entirely new scene collection for this, and I forgot to include Mix It Up. So, we don't have sound effects.
I'm sorry, Simon, but we're out of bananas today.
We're out of everything, apparently. Which is kind of just not good, actually. Fuck. I literally can't fix it right now. So that's annoying. Okay. Note to self. Fix that for next time. I'm gonna have basically refund a lot of points later today. I apologize. Okay, but yeah, Simon, if you want to join, feel free. In the meantime, I'm gonna start with my own personal thoughts on, I guess, apparently blind rep in Full Metal Alchemist. I'm gonna start with, I think it's fucking terrible. Because you get this whole scene, I guess spoilers for Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, right? You get this whole scene where you get Ed and you get Roy Mustang and a bunch of other people just in this crazy, like, it's like the climactic finale, basically. And shenanigans happens. Mustang loses his sight and is forced to fight completely blind. It starts out honestly amazing because you've got this badass who literally just lost his sight and is able to just like immediately adapt because of his like training and stuff like that. And him and his partner are just kicking absolute ass, and you know, so he's just got awesome support, just doing all kinds of awesome stuff. At the end of that whole fight, he accepts the fact that he's gonna have to live his life like blind, and he's like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to deal with it. And then Ed walks in after all the stuff happens, and he just basically just hits the fucking reset button. And then all of a sudden, boom, this dude can see again. Which, like, on one hand, okay, cool, but on the other hand, I'm like, they just completely erased that. They had like this whole thing that could have been an amazing journey for this character, and they just completely fucking erased it, and that drives me insane. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but those are my thoughts. I don't know. What do you think about it, Rob?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, on one hand, I think I have a theory on why they kind of pulled that for a couple reasons. One, because it's like we already have main characters who are disabled, and maybe they thought, well, if we made another very important character to the show also disabled, maybe that might take away from the focus of
Here's my argument against that. That was literally the last episode of the series.
That is true.
Like, that was the very end. And, like, I don't know if it continued on in the manga and stuff like that, but I don't see why other disabilities can't still exist. Like, that's kind of...
Yeah.
I don't...
Excuse me.
You're good. Sorry. Go on.
Well, no, I was just... And, I also wonder if maybe that's also part of it, because it's literally the last episode. It's like, oh, well, I can imagine some people thinking, oh, well, I mean, they saved the day, they won, but there's consequences, which I really wish they would have left that there, because one of the themes of either version of Full Metal is the idea that there are consequences to obtaining power and going beyond the limits of what should be the limits of like the world, the universe that's been set in motion. And every character, either intentionally, willingly, or in the case of Roy, because he kind of got forced into it, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've seen Brotherhood.
It was definitely forced on him, like, because they wanted to do that thing, or what's his name wanted to do that thing where it's like, oh, I want to see the Gate of Truth or whatever the fuck it is, and so they forced him to do like they forced him to do human transmutation, and that did a whole thing, and then he lost his sight as a result of that. That was completely like they put that on him, and then So, like, on one hand, I get why, you know, Ed would want to come along and just kind of, like, undo that, because it's like, that wasn't fair. You know? Like, that fucking sucks. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but, like, this dude is already prepared to, like, deal with that and still
I
live his
personally-
life, you know?
Look, if that wasn't the end of the series, I personally would have loved to seen how a blind Roy Mustang would have dealt with things, because as much as I adore Roy Mustang, one of his character flaws is arrogance in a lot of ways.
It would have absolutely humbled him.
Oh yeah, and would probably make him more of a badass because in the long run, because I mean he was already adapting, but can you imagine like him actually training more to compensate for not being able to see anymore?
Yeah, that would have been like the most badass thing. Like, it just drives me nuts that they're just like, yeah, no. And like, I've heard some people argue about it, going like, well, you know, it was meant to be like a happy ending, so happy ending for everybody. It's like, yeah, but like, that kind of implies that having a disability is a not happy thing. Like, it can be rough, I'm not, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't love the, I guess, negative connotation that comes with, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
no,
that makes sense.
oh, it makes total sense. Although weirdly enough, if they were really going, I find it weird if that is the you know the direction we're going with that, then why stop there? Why not just give, you know, Ed back his arm and his leg?
They did.
And oh, they did?
At the end of Brotherhood, yeah, he had to get
Oh,
surgery to
my.
get the other metal parts out of him.
Ah.
Like, they gave him back his arm and leg, Al got his body back, so they're like, everybody gets everything back, which, like, from a blanket perspective, I get that, but it's, you know.
Well.
Yeah,
okay.
right?
I hate that, but look, I'm not surprised though, and it's not so much like the people making it, but like keep in mind some of the vague sort of inspiration that was taken, not necessarily for the series, but for the I forget the name of their country, but I don't know, I don't remember if Brotherhood, if they did a lot with Brotherhood, but I remember with the what was it, the 2003 version, there were some interesting allusions to World War II Germany.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that one of the evils of that was, you know, eugenics. So I wonder if in a weird way it was sort of a, well, let's keep with the theme that vaguely inspires this world, or inspires as part of this world.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, I don't
seems
think-
weird for that to have been basically done by, like, Ed himself, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for exploring themes, I just don't think that was the way to go about it, personally.
I agree. Part of me doesn't really mind them getting his, you know, little brother his body back to some extent, but I don't know. I personally think that them keeping their disabilities, like, that was part of their learning their lesson, because that's, I mean, arrogance
Yeah.
was a large part of, like, I mean, yes, they wanted family back, they wanted their mom back, but on the other hand, for Ed, it was very much, he's a genius and he knows that he's a genius, so ergo, you know, I'm gonna try to do something that no one else has ever done. Well, congratulations, buddy. But no, as much as I love the, like, how the characters react and adjust to their disabilities, I hate the fact that with a blink of an eye, it's all been fixed.
Yeah,
it's all been removed.
Yeah, because I'm like, I mean, even if someone came along with...
Said had we still had Mustang as a blind man at the end of FMA, it would have been so empowering to see someone like him as a leader.
Legit!
Big L on the story's part.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
I agree completely. Cause I'm thinking even if Ed did come along and say, "Hey, I have a way to like sort of, you know, it's kind of a one-shot deal, but I can, kind of like ease it a little bit. So like maybe, maybe he did have the ability to heal it, but like it's like he'd only get some of it back. It's like not a complete thing, or some other like I have an idea that could help you deal with this or something rather than just erasing it. Like I think that would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, still not perfect, but like, better. Because like I don't personally see anything wrong with them just ending the story with like Mustang going like, well, gotta adjust to life now. You know? Because like the dude's like, I've already been through so much crap. I've already lived a life and stuff. I can figure this shit out. I've been through worse.
Yeah.
You know?
I
He
mean-
was
I mean-
totally prepared to do it, and like just seeing
Simon
him
Oma
going like,
said yeah, in the old anime they do keep him blind in one eye at the end and learning to adapt to that.
yeah. But like I see, I forgot that they did that. But like they don't really put too much like focus on it, which on one hand I love, but on the other hand I'm like, I wish they focused on it a little bit more. I don't know. It's that balance between seeing it as like a normal thing and then paying attention to it and focusing on it, and it's like I feel like it's a me not being able to be satisfied thing.
Totally. If I remember correctly, didn't one of his best friends / like his men like end up in a wheelchair? I don't remember if it's in both animes or just the one, but I remember the guy who smoked a lot.
I forget everybody's names, honestly.
Simon Oma said yep, Havoc. Tiff
Thank you, Simon.
said Havoc.
There we go.
Yes, Havoc.
This is why we have friends that know things.
I have it on DVD. I just haven't watched it in a long while.
I'm gonna be real, and I never say this because everybody likes Brotherhood better, but I kind of like the original anime better.
So when it comes to the two shows, I prefer the overall
Simon Oma
plot of Brotherhood.
said it is in
more,
Brotherhood.
But there are aspects about the 2003 that I like better, like especially out of the filler and side plots. I like a little bit more. I think it would have been a perfect anime. I guess the only thing I don't really like about the 2003 is the reason behind the homunculi creation and their whole goals. Like I found that weaker than Brotherhood. But other than that, like I mean I enjoy both animes in their own right.
Simon Oma
I just
said I like original better too. Ed keeps his disability at the end in the movie.
Yeah, there's that, and I just think that the original just has better pacing. I think that Brotherhood just kind of rushes a lot of it, which like is fine. And I'm not saying Brotherhood's bad, but this is getting into a whole different discussion.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's on me entirely. But like, I don't know. It just sucks to see. Just my whole issue with it is just like, oh man, I wish they didn't just erase everybody's disability.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude.
Because we need more disabled characters, not less.
Said I have such a soft spot for Aaron Dismuke's voice for Alphonse. It was pretty cool for him to play the younger version of the Elric's boy's father.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of disabled rep, though, which I guess is like literally why we're here. I actually saw a video today. It ended up in my recommendeds on YouTube. I think it was by somebody who goes by like Psy the Cyborg, and I don't know much about this person. I've literally only seen one video from them, and they are a double amputee.
He's the same age as me. Just googled him. Lol.
That's wild. But they're a double amputee, and they made a whole video talking about like representation for amputees. And of course, the first thing that I thought of when I was listening to this person speak about it is how I'm like representing Rin. For those who don't know, she's one of my D&D characters. She's an artificer, and she has a prosthetic arm. Very much inspired by Full Metal Alchemist. And I don't remember everything that was said in this video, but there were a few points that stuck to me, stuck with me, mainly a lot of tropes surrounding, like, I guess, prosthetics and stuff like that, and how they sort of end up at unintentional or otherwise, kind of spreading misconceptions and stuff about amputees and people with prosthetics and stuff like that, and how that can do some not great stuff. And like one of those concepts is like the idea of like the perfect prosthetic, where like it functions identically to, like,
Tif
normal limbs.
said Rin is such an awesome character. And I'm amazed Quirky hasn't died from her throttling him, lol.
Oh, it's coming. Just wait.
Yeah, no. She'll never hurt him on purpose. She'll never hurt him on purpose. But so the idea is like there's this prosthetic that functions identically to like a normal limb, but sometimes you get like this whole thing where it adds to it. Like Rin's got, her arm can turn into a fucking cannon. Like, which on one hand I'm like, I just threw a bunch of ideas together that I thought were cool and rolled with it, which it's fun for me and stuff. But also I'm like, to be fair, she is a disabled character, and I don't want to like be disrespectful about that, you know what I mean? But she very much is playing into that trope, which I can understand if some people are not super down with that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so I have a younger sister who is an amputee.
Mm-hmm.
She lost one of her legs during a terrible incident a couple years ago, and she literally just started playing Dungeons and Dragons recently. And so I'm helping her in the background, just basically sharing content, even though I'm not part of her campaigns, just giving her information and help her, do what I do as a dungeon master, even though I'm not the dungeon master behind her game.
Right.
Not only is she is disabled in her own life, but the first character she's playing, she's essentially playing a gnome who the gnome lost her leg. And so her dungeon master and her have been coming together to figure out ways so that she could play that character. And one of the ways that she's doing it is, with her her character's prosthetic, it does have other stuff in it, like maybe not necessarily a cannon like Rin, but other stuff that like gives her an edge. But one of the ways that she balances it is, despite all the add-ons or things in her character's prosthetic, the legs, or the prosthetic leg, still bothers her character. It still causes her problems. One of the ways she does this in character is in certain situations she intentionally gives her character a disadvantage at certain things based on wear and tear on the prosthetic, or personal pain, because she herself in her real life deals with phantom limb syndrome.
Right.
So occasionally she has her character takes like psychic damage, like a little psychic damage, or might have a disadvantage on insight or perception checks, because her character is just dealing with the constant low level pain of the fact that there's no physical limb there, yet her nervous system is still registering, okay, there's something there, we should be connecting to something, but it's not, and so it's an issue.
Yeah, I feel like that is definitely something, because like that was in the video I was watching today too, talking about that and including like those little details and stuff like that. And that's not really something I thought about in depth. And I'm like, I should really explore that kind of thing with Rin a little bit more, because like I've not really said it during our games because there's always a lot going on and everybody's like talking constantly, but like, you know, when she's going to bed, she will take her arm off and stuff like that. And but like, you know, I haven't really thought about how her arm functions day to day, like, because like in my imagination, I'm like, she's constantly like, she modded that thing herself. She is an engineer. She did like, she made this thing basically. So like she's constantly like maintaining it. Part of her daily routine is maintaining it. So it's like almost always in working order just because she's able to do that for herself, kind of thing. But like that's something that we haven't really gone into depth in game, kind of thing. And like, I mean, I'm not an amputee. I'm no expert on this stuff at all, really. But I'm like, part of that's on me because I'm like, I could be describing that stuff a little bit more and things like that. So I might, you know, think about that a little bit. And because I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, maybe I could do a little bit better on that, you know? I don't think I'm doing horrible, but maybe I could do better, you know? At least a little bit.
Well, the thing about role playing, and it doesn't matter if you're playing a disabled character or an able character or whatever kind of character, I think there's always improvement that anyone can do with their role play. I know on my end as the dungeon master, and part of the reason, and hey, you all are all in a swamp, so let's get some mud in that. It's just, it hasn't quite been in a situation where you guys have been on a boat for the most part. I'm sure that will come up at some point, but I know for a fact some thoughts that I've had about Rin and her arm especially is there's a couple points in the game I want to send you all into like an Arctic area. I can just imagine, you know, the arms sticking or not wanting to work properly, or because Ren's wearing that arm, she occasionally takes cold damage because, you know, metal attached to the skin and all that jazz.
Yeah, because she definitely has, I forget what the term for it is, but it's the type of prosthetic where there's like an implant, like in your, like that, the prosthetic then connects to you type of thing. Again, very similar to how Automail in Full Metal. We ripped off Automail. That's what I did. Just gonna be completely transparent about that. It's Automail. We're just not calling it that. But like, so even if she were to, you know, be able to make modifications to her arm or even make an entirely new one that's better suited to the cold, she still has to deal with the fact that there is still like metal that she cannot alter stuck to her body, and that's probably gonna have to figure out how to like compensate for that, because frostbite sounds unpleasant.
Or the opposite, in a desert for a little while, you know, take minor fire damage.
Oh yeah, yikes.
Because metal gets hot.
I should get, yeah.
But no, I will say, going back to Full Metal for a moment, I think in a lot of ways it's got some really good rep. It's just it just kind of falls apart at the last moment.
Yeah. It starts out fantastic and then it just sort of dies, which makes me sad.
I don't know, like, when I think about it more, I think maybe the reason why they pulled that is because usually in a story you have a conflict, the major conflict, and all the surrounding conflicts that's interconnected. And by the end of the story, you usually try to find a solution or a conclusion to that conflict. So I wonder if they're like, well, since moment one, that has been a major issue for Edward. So let's have him find a way. But I also think, yeah, like throughout his journey, he's been trying to find a way to get his body parts back, and his brother's body back. I think that's probably the aspect of their personal side of the rep that kind of fails, because I think it would have been more interesting if, towards the end of it, Ed comes to realize that that it's not so much getting his body back, but just
Simon Oma
accepting who he
said
is
rushed
at that
writing
point.
at the end, possibly wrecking the rep.
The rush writing absolutely did wreck the rep, in my personal opinion.
True to that, Simon.
But I think at least throughout Brotherhood, I did get the impression that at one point, like, Ed was just like, you know what, forget about me, I just want my brother to not be dead, basically. So, like, I think he did kind of just prioritize Al in that sort of moment. Other stuff happened, and he ended up getting his arm and leg back because Al went in there and it was like, no, I want my brother to have his arm and leg back, So, like, it was kind of like they got their limbs back because they both made sacrifices for each other, which in my in my personal opinion, I'm like, that makes sense. That's not really a reset button thing. That is two characters, that is two people that care about each other, trying to give each other the fucking world,
That's totally fair.
And then, Mustang gets the reset button. And I don't know, like, I still don't think it's, like, perfect as far as Ed and Al goes. I don't really know how to go about perfecting that, to be honest, but there's at least a reason for it, for those two,
Yeah. Maybe, because I'm just trying to think about the different possibilities. Maybe it's the fact that because, humans as a species, we all, both in real life and both for those who are able to see, it is such a huge thing for them. So I wonder if they're just like, oh, well, either a combination of, let's get rid of this one, because for a lot of sighted people, blindness is like one of the worst things that they can think of. Or maybe it's just the fact of, well, there was no, like, his losing his sight was nowhere near the journey that the brothers went through. So it's like, oh, well, let's just get rid of it, sweep it under the rug, so to speak, move on, let's not talk about it, kind of thing. I mean, I could totally be wrong, but just throwing out some thoughts there, some possibilities.
I mean, sure, I guess. I don't know, it's still...
It still leaves a bitter taste in the mouth, that's for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, because I'm just like, oh, it's pretty yikes, I'm not gonna lie. I forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something and my brain
Sorry.
No, you're good. It's not your fault at all. I just had a massive brain fart, so I'm just like, oh crap. But like, I don't know, it's just like, by that logic, why include it at all? And like, I'm not gonna lie. Me losing what's left of my sight is like one of the most terrifying things to me. Like, I don't, just on a personal level, I already had to adapt once, and that was already extremely difficult for me. I don't want to have to do it again. Especially considering the fact that it's basically 30 years later, and that's gonna make things a lot harder for me. So like, my issue isn't even that, oh, like, it's such a bad, horrible thing. No, it's just like, oh man, I don't know that I have it in me to really do the adapting, if that makes sense. And that's, that's definitely a me problem, 100%.
That's totally fair.
But yeah, that's boy, I don't even know where else to go from here, to be honest with you, because I'm like, we have fucking ran Full Metal into the ground apparently. So like, I forget what other characters that you mentioned, Simon. I know you were talking. I think you mentioned Cora at one point and like her struggle with like PTSD. I don't know enough about PTSD to really like dive in to that, to be honest with you. So I don't know if it's good rep. It was interesting, an interesting arc for her. I don't know if that, I don't know enough about it to say whether or not it was like good representation of it though. So I'm like, I don't know that I'm qualified.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm currently watching that. In fact, I'm watching that with my partner, showing her it for the first time, and
I can tell you about depression, but not necessarily PTSD.
well,
Simon Oma said I mentioned Korea, the blind character in Bleach, and not in the Connect I talked about Ace Attorney.
I don't really remember that guy from Bleach, unfortunately. Like, honestly, I did. Usually when I watch something, I'm like, ooh, blind character, I want to check them out. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
so
was kind of like, eh.
they were a villain.
Simon Oma
We watched through
said
it relatively.
not in the comment. Tiftifby said Konami.
That's it. So we watched through that particular arc relatively recently. I don't remember everything that went on in it.
Said I think that's how his name's spelled.
I couldn't tell you if that's right or not. But there was this dude. He was kicking ass. He was blind, kicking ass, doing some stuff. And then some stuff happened. He got sight, and then he just kind of got cocky.
Simon Oma
and he got
said
taken
Bleach
down.
ruined the blind character.
They took him down using the same technique that he trained other people to use while he was still blind. And it just...
Simon Oma said you
mm,
could Tifa.
Oof.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's terrible.
It's kind of rough. Yeah.
Simon Oma said I mean good.
Like, again,
So-
started out really neat. And like, oh, this is going in an interesting direction. And then just...
Look, I don't mind if a villain is disabled, so long as the reason why they're evil or why they're a villain is not because of their disability. It just so happens that, well, they're a disabled person who they decide to do terrible things for whatever their dastardly plot is.
Yeah. But like,
but
it's just sort of they erased the disability halfway through, and then they took him down with his own fucking technique that he. I
hate that. Like, oh my god, I can't believe
so
I missed that part
bad.
in Bleach, but I hate
so
that
bad.
because okay, so I thought he is a character with board. Okay, when I first whatever. I did, however, thought
Simon Oma
I think it was
said
his,
as for Ace Attorney, I believe Rob knows about the blind assassin who kills with his guide dog. Really cool rep.
Wait, sorry, what?
I vaguely remember this.
Simon Oma said, but yeah, I hate what they duck in Bleach.
Well, I thought his bunkai was pretty cool though, because it literally puts you in a place where your senses were basically taken away. Like, you could not hear, you could not see, and in fact, the only reason the one guy that he fought was able to get out of it is because he timed every time this guy attacked him to literally grab him at the last minute.
Gotcha.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I thought that was a really interesting way to, even the playing field, so to speak.
Sure.
But as far as I'm concerned, that whole, okay, we're gonna
Simon
give you
Oma
sight, and then you're gonna get
said,
defeated
oops, I
that way,
broke
it's just
Minnie.
garbage.
Simon, that's not hard to do.
I'll go grab the mop. I vaguely remember the blind assassin. I remember it being them being a very cool character. It's been a
Simon
while.
Oma said the assassin is in prison but still pretty sweet.
I definitely need to look into that because I'm like, he kills using his guide dog? This dude gets away with that? Or at least did for a portion of time? That is absolutely wild to me.
That is amazing.
That
Tiff
just sounds
said in Fire Emblem Three Houses,
entertaining.
one of the leads in it, Dimitri, loses his eye in some way. When having a tea party with him, he mentions it affects his eyesight a bit, but it doesn't really affect his fighting. Simon Oma
Yeah, cause like
said yes and bells so he can hear his dog and weapon.
interesting. I am intrigued. Okay. But yeah, no. Sorry, I need to read a message because those came in very, very close to each other. So, I can say as someone who has vision in only one eye, it does definitely affect things, but like once you get used to it, it's just kind of a normal thing. Like you can still do, you know, whatever you can do. It's just slightly different. But then it just like, you know, after a long enough time, like I don't remember what it's like to have vision in both eyes anymore. Like I can sort of approximate, but I don't actually remember it, you know what I mean? Also, I was 6 at the time, so kind of a long time ago. So yeah, like, you do kind of get used to it, and you can compensate for it and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have, like, I haven't done it in forever, but, at one point I was attempting to learn stick fighting, and as someone with only a little bit, with a little bit of eyesight, it's, it takes a lot to adapt, but you can do it.
Oh yeah.
I know several people in the blind community who practice martial arts in one way, shape, or form, and
100%.
it's just about the will, the old saying that there's the will, there's a way, but also having a good instructor who, if nothing else, is at least willing to help you adapt. I actually never, like, when I think about core and disability, like I guess I never really thought about the PTSD because they put more her physical impairment in later parts of the series more in your face.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, I can totally understand why she has PTSD. It's like literally every 5 seconds someone is trying to manipulate her, someone's trying to kill her.
I have
Excuse me.
one word, and it's probably like the core of it for Korra. Haha. Zahir. That is all.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The episode where she goes back to like see him, to like talk to him
Mm-hmm.
while he's in prison, and he's just like floating over her menacingly, and she's just like cowering in fear even though he can't do anything to her. Like, dude.
And the thing is Zahir and Armand are literally my two favorite villains. Not just in Korra, but just the last Airbender period.
Amon was pretty cool.
I think you know what I wish, and they kind of did a little bit, and I understand the shenanigans of that series. For one thing, when they did the first season, they were under the impression that was going to be the only thing they were going to be able to make at first.
Mm-hmm.
But so and that's because the ending, which caused the ending of that season to not be so great, or at least in my opinion, not so great. But
I didn't, as a mini series, I think it ended fine. Just kind of on a like, what happens from here is kind of like, you can brainstorm all you want and go crazy. It's just, I thought it was fine, and then they just sort of, everything else that came after it kind of had to sort of compensate in a way.
But I mean, This and yes, like the whole focus is that she is so different from the previous Avatar, but you got this whole thing. She is raised from a young child. Okay, you're the Avatar,
Mhm.
and then you got this guy who, with the wave of his hand, well, okay, maybe not literally, but just like he can take everything that is the foundation of who and what you are up to this point in your life, that you've been training for, that you've been raised as, what have you.
Just immediately locks that away.
Yeah.
And like, it's not so much a wave so much as it is a really awkward point. But your point still stands. I'm doing really bad at the puns today. They're not good puns. Like, even by pun standards, they're not good.
Armand, we need to have a little talk. Didn't your parents teach you not to point at people? It's not okay. Never mind.
No, his dad literally taught him to point at people.
I see. We have some behavior modification to go through.
Said Korra Season 3 was the darkest season overall topics-wise. Especially with what happens to Korra. That final shot of her in the season finale still breaks my heart.
I haven't seen that in a long time, actually. I should honestly watch that series again. It's been a hot minute.
Watching it described, even though I have it on DVD, I also have it on in described audio, and it is a whole different experience listening to it described.
Simon Oma.
Oh, sure.
Said for them the loss of bending is like becoming disabled in a way, but they erase that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It kind of... The reason I don't have an issue with that, aside from... like, the reason I don't really have an issue with that is because, like... I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know why I don't have an issue with that. Like, just... Because she doesn't really lose her bending. She unlocks, like, she finally, like, unlocks her ability to airbend, and then is able to, like, earn the rest back, essentially. But, like, she doesn't really lose it, you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, like, it's still... it's still a little bit... You know, we're still rubbing against sandpaper here, but, you know.
So I have complicated thoughts and feelings about that, because... and don't get me wrong, I love Legend of Korra. But I have a lot, as I go through it again, I find I have a lot of issues, big and small, with it. With all the seasons to some
Simon
extent.
Oma.
And
said I mean more everyone else Eamon took bending from.
That's fair.
And one of the things that I think is the laziest and the most, the thing that upsets me the most is a lot of the world building, a lot of the changes between the first series and the second series. And one of the things that I don't necessarily have a problem with everybody getting their bending back, especially Korra, but what I do hate is how it's so easy. I mean, yeah, it's ability, the Korra learns, but I think one of the biggest issues in a lot of ways of the changes between the original series and the sequel series is a lot of the spirituality, I feel, has been taken out of the elements. I'm not talking about necessarily the show itself, because we got a lot of that in season 2, and to some extent in season 3, but and a little bit in season 4 if you count the whole spirit world stuff. But it's the fact that in the original series, Zuko, for example, temporarily lost his ability to use fire bending because his passion, his drive, the thing that inspires him to bend, changed.
Yeah.
So he had to relearn that. A lot of people I've seen recently, and I've come to sort of the same conclusion, that I would have liked it better if in season 2, if a large part of season 2, Korra was going on a journey to figure out, what her spiritual drive is, to learn how to rebend, because I think they could have done a lot, and I totally understand why it did not happen because of all the constraints and whatnot. But I think it would have been cool if season 2, we got a whole thing where she is not just relearning how to bend, but also going through a spiritual and philosophical journey. Okay, not what is the avatar to everyone else, but what is the avatar to me? What does it mean to me? How am I that person? How am I that thing that I embody? And how do I go about doing it? Because, like, in the original series, towards the, like, everyone's like, okay, you have to defeat the Fire Lord. You have to kill the Fire Lord. And Aang is like,
I don't want to do
But-
that.
I don't want to do that. And he had to figure, and I mean, there's a great episode towards the end where he is contacting the different previous avatars, and they're giving him great advice, but he's like, but I don't want to do that because that's not me. I'm not you. And I think that's one of the biggest things we missed out on.
Yeah,
And
like,
I think,
so, like, the bending was more tied to, like, identity and spirituality rather than, like, an actual physical ailment.
and to be honest, even though I love Toph and I love seeing Toph in the sequel series, I think in some ways I would have loved to seen a little bit more if they'd done something like that more in season 3, where they're like, we got to go find Korra, and where, you know, Korra is kind of like going somewhat incognito to some extent, trying to find her way. I think it would have been a lot more interesting if we had more of that journey shown of her once again, she did struggle. I'm not taking it away from her, but I'm just
You
I
just
don't
wanted
know,
to,
like,
you just wanted to be able to actually see it.
yeah. But then
Because,
again,
like, we know it happened. We just didn't see as much of it as
yeah.
we could have.
Yeah.
And, like, again, I don't know if the portrayal of what Korra went through qualifies as
Simon Oma
good representation
said there was
or
a
not,
good bit of that
but,
in season 4 when she
you know.
was with Toph. And Toph
Yes.
telling her she needed to accept what happened to her to regain her avatar state and overcome the PTSD trauma.
Yes, that is true. It also felt very montagey to me in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like, they showed some stuff. Like, we're not saying that they didn't show anything, but it also felt like more of like a, yeah, kind of like a slightly slower montage type of thing.
We're gonna need a montage.
Montage.
Even Rocky had a montage.
And montages can be used to great effect. I just don't know that it, you know, because it wasn't an actual montage. It felt kind of like point A to point B type of progression, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. But that's less of a representation thing and more of a how the show handled, or, you know, that's more of a pacing thing, I guess.
Well,
I
an
can words.
adaptation. I also think that's more of an adaptation thing because, generally speaking, montage is more for movies, which usually have anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes to a couple hours to, well, a lot of movies these days can go up to 3-4 hours. So,
Sure.
As opposed to a series where you have several seasons with several episodes that
You can still, like, in certain cases you can still do montages
fair
in
enough.
series like that, and, you know,
fair enough.
it's a delicate thing. But, like, I just we know Korra went on a journey. I just wish we saw more of that journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And, like, I completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Jeez.
I
I ran out of cream soda and my brain was like, nope.
We must go on strike.
And I'm like, no more cream soda for you. We're going to my standby water. Because I was smart and got water ahead of time.
Nice. Being prepared is good.
Usually, until you forget to add certain things to your stream. Uh, fine. It's fine. Absolutely fine. I forget what I was gonna say. I really genuinely can't remember what I was gonna say.
I mean, there's been attempts at representation for a very long time in media. For me personally, I think the first earliest representation of disability I've ever seen was X-Men. And I'm not talking about the more modern X-Men. I'm talking more like one of the earliest cartoons that like late 80s, early 90s. There might
Yeah.
even be a version before then. And like the first, and there's a couple of them that kind of come in mind. Like the one that hits me the most is Xavier, Charles Xavier, who is wheelchair bound. And yes, he has telekinesis, but most of the time he gets around in a hover wheelchair, and well, at least in the cartoon,
Yeah.
or at least that cartoon. And there are several times that shows what happens when that breaks down. And sometimes he occasionally can use telekinesis to move him, but the constant use of that can cause migraines, can cause problems. You know, it's overextension. So it's interesting. I've seen a few different people try to do like a historical thing on like, okay, let's look at the history of representation, and some attempts are pretty interesting, some are decent, some are good, and then some just no, we don't talk about Bruno. No. But so I don't know. Like I think as of course as time goes on, we see more rep come out, more possibly more disabled actors, especially more people exploring that in media, like well, of course in media, what am I talking about, but like literature, for example. I haven't really watched a lot of new anime lately. I mostly, because I don't stream, I wait for things to come out described, or I do get it on Blu-ray or DVD when I'm able to.
Fair.
On the when things are still released from time to time. But I don't know.
Like I do watch a lot of anime. I don't usually see very much in the way of disability rep. There is one movie that was on Netflix a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's still up there. It might even be on Crunchyroll now, but I can't confirm that. It's called A Silent Voice.
Okay.
And it's about this kid who used to bully a deaf girl in his class.
Mm-hmm.
And he also deals with really bad social anxiety, to the point where the anime portrays, like, the way the anime like depicts it is like, for a long time, until this character starts to actually connect with people again, everyone's faces in public are just like, everyone's eyes are just like, there's a big X over it. Not like the typical depiction of characters being dead or anything, but it's like there's just a thing blocking their face and blocking him from being able to see them clearly, kind of thing. So it deals with that, but it also, from what I understand, because again, I'm not an expert on stuff, but like, they show this girl like using sign language or writing notes to other kids that don't know sign and stuff like that. She has she can speak, but like she, it sounds very like, because she can't you know, because she couldn't hear, it's not like the same type of thing, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they really like dive into that, but they dive into this kid trying to make things right with this girl and trying to, you know, connect with her and be friends and stuff like that. And there's other people around like from her family going like, why are you trying to do this? You used to torture her. Are you just gonna do that again, type of thing? So it's him trying to deal with his own anxieties and trying to figure out like, why is he doing this? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I trying so hard to be friends with this person? Is it because I want is it because I genuinely want to be this person's friend, or am I just doing this to make myself feel better? It's a really, really touching story.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna try to see if I can find a described copy of that, because that sounds like an awesome movie.
It will make you cry. I fucking cried when I watched it for the first time. Because it gets really, really like emotionally intense. As you see these like two people just sort of, you know, just progress and grow and stuff. Just, oh my god, it's a really good story, but it's also heartbreaking. And to my understanding, it's pretty decent death rep.
Nice.
So, you know, there's a win right there. It's a couple years old. It's been out for a hot minute. But
That's fair.
you know, I do watch anime quite often. I don't see a lot of disabled rep, which is unfortunate. But that is a good
Swift
one.
Simeon. Said a silent voice.
Yes. That is the one. Also, hi Swift, how you doing today? Welcome in. So yeah, rep or not, I definitely recommend it if you want a story that'll make you fucking cry. I got my hair stuck in my chair and it just pulled a strand out and that hurt really bad.
So I don't know about good rep, but there's a couple horror movies that I've heard of. I haven't had a chance to check them out yet. I do have described copies of there's one called A Silent Place, or Quiet. I think it's called A Quiet Place, and then there's The Bird Box, and I've heard all kinds of which from my understanding. In A Quiet Place, there is a hearing impaired or deaf character, but in Bird Box, there isn't so much a blind character as people are having to avert their eyes because whatever is causing the problem, it's essentially an eldritch abomination, like one of the most common eldritch abomination tropes. You see it, you're gonna go insane.
Yeah, I've heard of the Bird Box. I've not seen it.
So, but I don't know, sometimes I wonder if, I mean, yeah, you can make, you know, you can explore certain things in just about any genre. I'm sure for a lot of people who are not blind or not deaf, being in a situation where you cannot use those senses can be a very scary thing.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But I definitely want to
Tiff
check them out to see if they're
said there's a
decent.
newer-ish anime film with some disability representative called Jose, the Tiger and the Fish. The heroine in that one is a paraplegic.
I am intrigued.
When I get off this conversation later, I'm going to go check up TV tropes and see if I can find a list animated that has like various disabilities so I can go check it out, because see if the rep's any good or not.
I will have to look this one up though. I'm constantly looking for new stuff to watch, so like, you know, why the heck not?
I as far as anime, I am still
Tiff
watching
said it got
the horror
released back
taste
in
of Goblin
2020
Slayer
by
out
the
of my
looks of it.
mouth.
Oh my. Got released back in 2020. Oh, okay. Okay, so wow, it's been out for a hot minute. Okay. Neat. I will
I think like
definitely have to look that one up for sure.
I think the last for me new anime I watched was what is it? The Rising of the Shield Hero, which I blame Simon for getting me into.
That
was a
one was
couple years
fun.
ago.
I enjoyed that one. I know a lot of people don't like the second season, but like
I still have yet to see it.
the first season is definitely better. The second season gets kind of video gamey, like even more so. But
That fills me with dread.
it's not the worst thing. I've seen worse. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
first season is definitely better though. Like I'm not gonna lie, but still a good time. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Tiftifby said Rising Season 1 has a special place in my heart due to Billy Comets being the lead, RIP.
Yeah,
Simon Oma
that's fair.
said I still need to watch third season.
Wait, they have a third season? I didn't know they had a third one.
So Lizzie, when you sent that comment, my screen reader decided to like the very sound things on my end was distorting it a little bit. So I know what you said. You have a special place in your heart, but what I got is I have a special place in hell for season.
Whoa! Wait, how?
Just for a moment, my voiceover was not wanting to cooperate with the text to speech, but it's fine now.
Right, no, I get that, but how did you get hell out of...
It only pronounced the HE in heart,
Simon
and then
Oma
the rest got
said
distorted.
agreed Tifa he will be missed. Tiftifby
That
said
is
that screen reader
insane.
has a dark sense of humor.
It really does! When accessible tech decides that it that it wants to fuck with you, which is often, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Like I cannot count the number of times voiceover has sort of screwed me over by completely like mispronouncing words that it has also pronounced properly at times. Like sometimes it'll read certain sentences and like it'll just kind of like weirdly slur stuff together sometimes. Not very often, but in very, very specific circumstances it will, and it sounds like it's saying something like completely different than what it's actually saying, and I'm like, what the how did this get past testing? What
Tiftifby
happened?
said me, writes a meaningful comment. Bobby's screen reader, and I took that personally.
Well, you know, it's funny because that happened to me earlier in VDA. I was watching one of my favorite YouTube deep divers / commentary, and she was talking about a very serious and terrible situation about this one YouTuber influencer. Unfortunately, my screen reader wanted to make fun of this person's last name. I'm not going to say what their actual last name is, and the person doing the deep dive was pronouncing correctly, but my screen reader decided, no, we're going to pronounce their last name as Doobie, as the drug.
Oh no!
So...
Oh no!
You know. So yeah, sometimes accessible tech is like, you know what, we're just gonna make things go sideways just for the shits and giggles.
Yeah, it it happens a lot. Sorry, I just thought of something that I saw a video about it the other day, and I think it was mentioned in the video that I sent you the first time we talked about when we first started this discussion. So I'm completely derailing things from anime.
That's fine.
Do you remember hearing about that whole combat wheelchair in D&D controversy?
Yes. I didn't get all the details, but I heard about it.
So essentially, somebody made, like, I guess, like, homebrewed a way for, like, there to be wheelchair users in D&D that could also,
Mhm.
still be in a fight and stuff. So they had designed basically a wheelchair that was very like kind of steampunky. It was pretty cool looking. And stuff. And a whole bunch of people on the internet had a problem with it. And a whole lot of ableism came to light, type of thing. But I don't want to focus on the ableism bit because that's just mentally exhausting, if I'm being completely honest. But my question to you is, how would you, as a DM, run
Tiftifby
a wheelchair user
said
in
Critical
D&D?
Role's Matt Mercer used it in one of his campaigns, I believe.
Oh, very cool. I
I'm
did
gonna
not
have to
know
hunt
that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hunt that down now. Is it like part of the official campaign, or was it a side quest thing, Lizzie? Because I definitely want to go find that out because I'd like to see how he did it. As for me, it would depend. Because I have done various one shots in the past where either the person in question had like a bona fide wheelchair. I've also done it in the past, especially with a previous edition where it was essentially a robot. And yes, I know that
Tiftifby
technically you could do that in 5th
said
edition.
official campaign. It was in the second one.
Oh, okay. Um,
Neat.
but the rules are a little bit stricter about that in this edition because essentially, like the options for a medium person to ride on something like that is a little tricky. It can be done, but so I guess it would depend because if it's a robot, that would technically count as a mount, and the rules about mounts could be a little complicated. But if it was just like a wheelchair, like a magical wheelchair, I would totally allow someone to have that. I guess it would also depend on, is it just a normal wheelchair? Is that all they're using it for is to get by? Or does it come with, say, like a cannon on the back of it or something? Because if it came with, like, add-ons.
I don't think it had I think it had some. I don't know exactly what it was
Tiftifby
capable of.
said found the name of the NPC who used it, Dagon Underthorn, Dwarf Ranger, Fighter.
Neat.
Thank you. I will definitely hunt that down and look at that. But essentially, what I would personally do, if it was just a normal wheelchair, I would have them, basically if they wanted to move in it, I would have them use their movement. And let's say if there was like a magical weapon, because you'll see a lot of vehicles, because essentially I would roll it as a vehicle.
Sure.
That's how I would do it. And if there were, say, like weaponry on it, I would let them say, hey, well, you can either do one of your normal actions based on your class, what have you, or you special, say if they don't have like extra attack, or you can, use your action to activate one of the attacks that you may have with your wheelchair. That's how I would do it.
That makes sense.
Just try to make it as simple as possible.
Right. Outside of like mechanics and stuff, kind of thing, like how, because like I would think that in a setting, like I guess the Forgotten Realms or whatever, it's all, how would you run that, like as far as like outside of combat specifically, like?
Well, I guess it also depends on the terrain, because some terrain is going to be easier, like say in an urban setting, that is going to be a lot easier to get around in a wheelchair as opposed to, say, like up in the mountains,
Well, yeah.
Hell, like trying to get upstairs. But then in that case, how I would probably rule that is like, all right, I will allow your party members, like, someone to help you get up it, and then someone, say, like, to carry up the wheelchair, because I guess it also depends on the nature of the disability for the character, because
That's fair.
Because someone who is completely paralyzed, as opposed to someone who may still have movement in their legs, it's just they may not necessarily have all
Tape
of
player.
their legs.
Said the Gru 57 Tiffawink.
I have no idea what that means.
That was an emote.
Ah,
Hi, tape player. Welcome in.
Tape player. Said we talking magic wheelchairs?
Kinda. More or less, actually, yeah.
Oh.
Well, potentially. Doesn't specifically have to be magical. I guess they could, though.
it's magically revolving. Anyway,
Sorry,
we're
go
just-
on.
Player. Said neat.
We're just continuing our conversation about disability rep in various media, and we're just currently talking about possibly, some ways of, say, ruling someone with a wheelchair. It doesn't even have to be magical. It could just be a normal wheelchair in a magical setting.
Yeah. Like, how would that go down?
It would. I would add. Besides that, it would also question is the person using it, are they a spellcaster or not? Because one way that you could independently get up a flight of stairs if you're a character using a wheelchair, but if you're a spellcaster, cast levitation or even fly on the wheelchair and just float your ass all the way to the top of those steps.
That would be amazing to see, honestly.
Memo to self: next time making a character, do that, because I just now want to see them float their way to the top.
And it makes sense because that's not something that they'd be able to do like indefinitely, but to do it like as a temporary thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I got this. We're
Tape
good.
player. Said I remember this coming up years ago when WotC had some promo art of someone in a magic chair, shook out a lot of ableism lol.
Yeah, that's yeah. And then somebody tried to like homebrew their own thing, and there was even more ableism, and yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Wizards actually tried to do something like that, because I don't know, man. They're not the
Was that
best. They're not
was
the
that
best
for
stuff.
sorry, Benny. Was that for a previous edition?
I don't think so.
Because I must have been sleeping if either around or when
Well,
or
it's
if.
it's the thing that we started talking about. It's basically that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I knew someone homebrew it.
Yeah, that was kind of in response to
Tape player.
the
Said I think it was for 5e.
yeah. So the homebrew thing was kind of in response to the official thing, and I don't think it ever actually got implemented, partly because of all the BS that happened.
That's totally fair.
To be fair, I don't have all the details in front of me. And because like every time I hear about it, I just get tired. Like, you ever run into a situation where you hear about a situation and you just get instantly tired because you're just like,
Yep.
oh, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Allow
that's
me to go into hibernation.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, no. I am a bear now, and it is winter time, I've decided. So we're basically, kind of ignoring not really ignoring the ableism. I just don't want to dive into it, to be honest. But it's just more like, I was just asking,
Tape
like,
player.
how would,
Said I take it back, it wasn't WotC, just a game designer with really good production quality.
okay, fair enough. I was gonna say,
Okay.
I would have been surprised if Wizards actually did that, cause like, I kind of like, I wish they would try, but also I'm like concerned on how that would turn out.
Yeah, because I try to keep on top of a lot of the news inside of D&D, but
Yeah.
especially, but then again, there was like a number of years where because I played 3.5 up until I lost enough sight that I could no longer do so. And then fourth edition came out, and I just stepped away. And the only reason why I got into fifth edition is because of D&D Beyond, and that made it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, and now D&D Beyond has its own host of issues.
Oh yeah.
But that's probably a rant for another day. That's yeah. We should definitely do one talking about. I know we did a chat stream about our experiences with D&D. We should make an official Misfits Haven one. At some point down the line. Yeah.
I'm actually in the process of writing up my most ablest experience in D&D, not only to post on like my own channel and whatnot when I get that back up and running, but also to like a bunch of because there's a few YouTube channels that likes to tell horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to see how they react.
Is it the story that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's the one where it was my one and only attempt at playing an Adventure League official game, and my dice got stomped on.
Yeah. Boy, that is. I have another question for you, actually, unrelated to everything.
I might have an answer.
Semi unrelated to everything we've just talked about. Still in the vein of D&D and magic and stuff, though.
Yeah.
And also potential ableism. What are your thoughts on how healing magic and disabilities mix together? Yeah. This is
that's complicated.
Said average Adventure League experience.
That's upsetting to hear, actually.
Yeah, I typically don't play in Adventure League because I don't like their restrictions. Their one book restriction, or it's like player. It's, if I remember correctly, I don't know about now, but it used to be player's guide, player's handbook, and one other book that you're restricted to. And so you can only play so many races, so many classes, so many what have you. And like on one hand, I get it, but like some of the and it's not just that. There's some other aspects of it that I'm just not a fan of. But
that's unfortunate.
As far as healing magic goes, I think it's a fine balance. One of the things that I've done in the past, especially when it comes to disability, is how are they disabled? Like is it an accident, or is it something that they were born with? And if it was an incident or an accident, how much damage has it been done? Because there's some healing spells, like I know there's a regeneration spell in D&D, but there are some pretty heavy requirements. It's one of the most expensive healing games or spells in the game outside of like resurrection.
Right.
And so I like
so
it all depends, really.
So here's my question then.
Mm-hmm.
For sort of standard healing spells, like how much, like as far as, let's say somebody tried to use it on someone that, say, lost a limb during a fight or something like that, how much of that would a spell like that be able to heal before it could be, I guess, considered?
Tape player.
I hope my question makes sense.
I feel like anything beyond justifying disability in games with "it's there for visibility" can be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
We're already suspending
definitely.
disbelief for magic and gods. A wheelchair isn't that big of a leap.
Yeah.
Well, specifically regeneration.
No, I'm
Like,
talking like standard,
oh, it's
like
like cure wounds and whatnot.
yeah, stuff like that.
Um, like for example, someone lost an arm and a leg. Like that's like in game and by the rules, mechanic rules, that wouldn't apply, and I wouldn't let that apply even if it did apply. Like if you could literally like reattach an arm with cure wounds, I wouldn't allow it because I always imagine or how I interpret like healing spells like cure wounds is that I guess it's a difference between focusing on the type of damage that can kill you, but I don't know how to word this. Like some things over others. I've seen a bunch of different things. I've seen in some fan fiction, not so much D&D, where like for example with like with being paralyzed, that it's really hard to heal that kind of thing because in one person's magic system, the nerves in a person's body has sort of a natural resistance to magic, so it's really hard to fix that kind of thing.
Interesting.
I know for myself, I know we're just talking about normal healing spells, but like specifically regeneration or even resurrection spells, I generally tend only allow it like a couple of times. Like for example, you have a true resurrection. Okay, well, first of all, usually in those mechanics, you have to to contact the spirit and see if they're willing to come back, and also talk to the deity in question if that person had a deity, see whether or not they're willing to let them come back.
Right.
Or if your deity, in the way of a cleric, if your deity is cool at helping you. But one of the things I really like that there's actually a mechanic that's specific to Exandria that's I believe in the Tal'Dorei Reborn, where they're like, yeah, the more times you have to resurrect someone, the more trauma that they deal with. Either they don't necessarily come back fully healed, or they come back with some consequences. Maybe they might come back with part of their body fully damaged that cannot be repaired, or you do it enough times and their soul's ability to come back to the living is just it's up. You used it up too much.
Gotcha. That makes
So
sense. I've heard some people make or suggest that like certain things can be healed within a certain amount of time, and then after that time it's like, okay, well, if you weren't able to because like there are certain cases in like in the medical field, like in reality, where if say you can get it reattached if you're able to do it quickly
said
enough.
Hey Minnie.
What's up, Ursa? Welcome in. So like you can reattach like small things if you do it quickly enough and properly, and it takes a lot of time to heal and stuff. But like, again, that's like a time sensitive thing. If you take too long, you're losing that finger.
And
so like
as far...
I've seen people suggest something similar with magic and stuff. Like if you have an injury bad enough that you can theoretically heal within a certain amount of time, then sure, but then after that point, if you miss that window, you're SOL type of thing. So like I don't know if that's a good idea necessarily, but it's a thing that I've heard.
Well, that makes me think of two things. Within D&D, there's one spell in particular that makes me think of, that's Revivify. It's a spell where you can revive someone who died.
Right.
The catch is I think you have a minute to do so. Like if you do not do that quickly enough, your ability to succeed is gone. That also makes me think of a video game for the blind, an audio game called Entombed.
I've heard of that, actually.
It's a dungeon crawler / RPG. And in fact, I need to get back. I need to get on my new computer, but as well as Manamon, which is essentially a blind ripoff of Pokemon. But I don't care. I enjoy it.
If it works, it
And
works.
but essentially, you have healing magic, and you also have, not only can you get harmed, but you can be disabled. And it's not your typical game where you just have to take care of like damage in general. If you're not careful, you can literally get one hit KO'd by a bat.
Oh,
Because because part of the damage depends on, okay, where does that damage hit? You can get hit with a ton of damage in your arm.
Ursa Major VT
That arm
said
will
that
be
makes
smashed.
sense. I like it because then it opens the door to magical prosthetic limbs.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But if you take damage enough in the head, it doesn't matter how much healing you have, you're gonna die regardless.
That would make sense, yeah. So it basically takes, I guess from a mechanical perspective, like weak point into account. Which, like, that's actually really interesting. You don't see that in a lot of games. I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure there are, like, other examples of that, but none that I know of.
The one that comes to mind the most is Fear and Loathing, because that's definitely a game. Well, for one thing, that game is just brutal. Like, I can't think of a game that has more consequences like every 2 seconds than that game. In fact, that game goes so far that it's basically impossible to get out the other end without at least maiming your character in some sort of way, shape, or
Tape
form.
Player
That's unfortunate.
said that game sounds like it strikes a good tone for realistic damage, something D&D and many D20 games aren't great at.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it depends, at least as far as D&D, it kind of depends on how you decide to play it out. And
I mean, I've seen some D20s. Like, I've seen one that I can think of off the top of my head, and I haven't really had a chance to check it out. But I've heard that Grim
Ursa
Hollow,
Major
which
VT
is a
said, "Ooh, I would love to
dark
see a
fantasy,
campaign that uses that mechanic."
that basically there's all kinds of consequences for the type of damage you take, for sure. Are there ways to heal from it? Yeah, but it's easy to get killed if you're not careful. Excuse me. I also know, as far as historical D&D goes, second edition in a lot of ways was one of the most brutal. And as far as current editions go, not so much in D&D, but there are a lot of game systems out there who are trying to revive, like, the spirit of older editions. Basic fantasy RPG also comes to mind, where there are consequences for your actions, and
Tape
it's so
Player
easy to get maimed
said
or killed if you're
Morkborg
not
is
careful.
another good D20 built from the group up for gritty realism.
intriguing. I don't tend to dive into other systems, unfortunately, because most of them just aren't accessible,
Yeah.
which is a damn shame. But yeah, because, like, I keep hearing awesome things about other systems, and like, oh, it's like way better than what D&D's got, whatever. And it's like, hey, yeah, I'd love to try it, but I literally can't access the materials, so I can't try it.
I
Which is
tried
awkward.
I tried basic fantasy RPG. It can be made accessible. My personal complaint is that the options on different things are limited. Like, options for customizing your characters kind of well, not kind of, it is pretty limited.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm trying to get my brain back on track here. Yeah, it's not working, to be honest. I came into this tired,
said
and that
a
was
quick
a really
search
bad
might reveal
idea.
places to acquire PDFs free of charge.
Yeah, that's kind of the
Well-
problem, because PDFs aren't the most accessible thing.
And for me, I don't like using PDF to work with. I tend to convert anything PDF to text document. And while the version that I use is pretty good, the way most tabletop RPGs format those kind of books in PDF, it completely breaks everything. Like the last time I tried to convert something to a text document, the tables were broken in such a way I literally could not tell what
Yeah. So
thing should go where.
for context, we are both blind. So having just a PDF, having a free PDF, cool, awesome, love that it's free, but they're not always made in a way that works with screen readers. And more often than not, the formatting's always weird for screen readers. So, still not really all that accessible for the blind, which sucks so much.
Like there's this one game developer, and I like him for his YouTube content and other stuff. I like his world, but like there's this one game developer who's working on creating his own game system, and I'm on his Reddit, on his subreddit, and the guy wants to be accessible, but just literally does not understand when people give him suggestions or refuses to comprehend, like basically has this idea,
Ursa
well,
Major
this
VT
is going to work for everybody.
said I've seen
And it's
that
like,
problem
no.
across the board in many tabletop games, unfortunately.
Yep, and that's why I rely on D&D Beyond as much as they have so many issues these days.
Yep.
You know what else? You know what else I hate? Not even just having to rely on D&D Beyond, but the shit that I've gotten from other people in the D&D community going like, you shouldn't support them, and I'm like, listen, I just want to play a game that I like. Like, just... And I'm trying to do it in a way that's accessible to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, maybe get off your high
Kate
horse
Claire
a little bit.
said I didn't realize those challenges existed. Are there any guidelines for what to include to make a TTRPG more accessible?
Well, I mean, the most I've ever seen people think about is just putting in PDF, but like I said, like what we both said, PDFs
Don't always work out.
don't always work. And I actually have experienced similar to what you have, Minnie. I've actually lost a friend in the blogging community because they were boycotting Wizards of the Coast, not specifically D&D, but Wizards of the Coast and and Hasbro and all things connected to it.
Understandable, but
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, go Paizo, which is, you know, the creators of Pathfinder.
right.
Excuse me. And I'm like, okay, that's cool that you can do that, but I haven't found a way to make it accessible, and so I'm kind of stuck.
If
And-
there was a way,
Voxelia said he guys, glad to make it.
Voxelia, welcome in. So to answer the question directly, if there was a way that I know this is an unrealistic thing, unfortunately, because I can only imagine D&D Beyond being able to do what it does, but not have been easy to implement or even code. But if like
Mhm.
if there could be a site for like every TTRPG system that works similar to how D&D Beyond works, that would be amazing. And no, I'm not including Roll20 in that because Roll20 is not blind accessible either.
Oh, I hate Roll20.
So to be fair to Roll20, they've made a few improvements lately. It's still not screen reader accessible, but they're getting places. They're going places.
Well, I remember one time, someone, this was a few years ago, but I remember the one time someone wanted to play D&D with me. this is yeah, this is like 1990, sorry, 2018 going into 2019, because I got into 5th edition around February, March of 2019. But and they're like, yeah, Roll20 is the best. Okay.
It's not.
I literally lost a computer.
Oh.
Like it absolutely, like, my screen reader tried to exist in the same space with Roll20, and it basically turned my computer into a kamikaze.
Oh. See, that shouldn't have happened. Because I've definitely tried with using it with NVDA before, and it just sort of didn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks. I primarily just use my magnifier with it, and the only reason I'm able to use Roll20 at all is because the group that I play with that uses Roll20 lets me use an extension that lets me manage my character through D&D Beyond.
Nice.
Which is Beyond 20. If anybody wants to know. Really, really good extension. Also, it's also a Discord bot, so you can roll through Discord if you really wanted to, and stuff like that. There's lots of dice rolling bots for Discord, actually. We have gone very much off topic, but it's fine. So, like...
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna ask, how long have we been yammering for?
Oh, like... Actually, let me see. Almost 2 hours.
Fair enough.
So I'm actually not surprised we've gone off topic, to be honest with you. But it's fine. But yeah, so that's the only reason I'm able to play on Roll20. Cause like the map I can see just fine. It's just like the way the character sheets are laid out, I can't really work with, and the font that they use is not good, at least for my eyes. So like, you know, my group was cool enough to suggest and allow me to use Beyond 20, which has helped a lot. So there is that, which is nice. But unfortunately, I hate ending up in spaces where people just like give you shit because like you don't really have a choice. You have to use a thing that somebody else chooses not to support. And I'm like, if you want to not support Wizards of the Coast for whatever reason, that's valid. But don't give other people shit, because you don't really know what they're dealing with. They might not have a choice if they want to play D&D.
Yep.
So, maybe just don't be that asshole. That's blunt, and I know it is.
Totally valid, though.
But here we are, yeah. Yeah, we went from disability rep to just disability, which is fine actually. I'm actually good with that, to be honest with you.
Don't be an asshole to disabled. Okay. Sorry, I can't resist.
Did you just Mr. Mackey me?
Yes, I did.
Alright. No, that's cool.
Ursa Major VT. Said Mon, I hate it when people are assholes over a game that was built upon the foundation of inclusion.
Right?
Yep.
And like, so like the whole deal, like I especially got shit when Wizards was trying to pull that open game license bullshit.
Tape player.
And
said people's lives are a constellation of choices. Picking one out you don't agree with and painting them with it is a rancid move.
it is. Thank you. I agree completely. Because like I just like, you know, loads of people were telling me like, oh, don't support them, don't do this, don't do that, and I'm like, okay, but then I can't play D&D. And I want to play D&D, and I'm in several groups that I don't want to bail on.
Well, and it's not just that, like, because here's the thing. I know some players will buy some books, but for those of us who are Dungeon Masters, especially Dungeon Masters Forever, we are the ones who buy the bulk of the stuff. I think so far I've invested a good between 2019 and now. I think I've invested a good
Ursa Major VT.
maybe
Said true.
$700 into into my hobby. And
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
so when I get people, oh, we'll just change. Well, disability and accessibility aside, I don't have an extra
Tape player.
$500, $600,
All your stuff is
Said
there.
don't like me playing D&D. Make your damn RPG disability accessible.
Damn
Yeah.
straight. Damn straight. It's like, give me the ability to switch to something else, please. I would genuinely love that. Like, even just to be able to do more than one system if I wanted to. Be nice. You know? I've had some of my friends in my other D&D group have been like, "Oh, do you want to try like this sort of thing with us?" And I'm like, I literally can't use it though. I would love to try it, but I literally can't work with the material. So like I've had to turn them down several times, and that's depressing because I want to do the thing. But I just can't. And that sucks. Sucks a lot.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm kind of like repeating myself.
No, you're good. And I get it. You're tired.
Like, I woke up at like 3 in the morning, and I've been awake ever since, and I hate it so much.
Oof.
I'm trying to fix my sleep, y'all. This is the result of that. But yeah, this turned into a rant / complete brain fart.
Ursa
Is
Major
what this
VT.
is now.
Said the day someone makes a tabletop game that is inclusive to those with disabilities, it's Jover.
You know what's messed up about D&D not, or you know what's messed up about TTRPGs not being accessible is like we're talking like pen and paper type stuff. That's what it started out as. You know? You could literally like braille that shit out and have someone join in. You know? Now it's not really that simple anymore. And even then, depending on how you format
Said it's like they're asking people to wear a freaking sign about their disabilities. It shouldn't be that hard to make it accessible for everyone.
We literally have the technology and it's not being used. That's the thing, is we've
Ursa
had
Major
the technology
VT.
to make so many
Said
things
it's
more
so
accessible,
crazy to me that
and
it's
just not.
Or at the very least have a fudging TTS.
Yeah. What I would love to see is more than just adding TTS. I actually wish that they wouldn't do that. Is just make their stuff readable to screen readers. That way, rather than using something that probably doesn't fit someone's needs, they can use a tool that already does. You know what I mean? You know, like a screen reader, which you can customize to your individual preferences and stuff. You know? That's what I would personally love to see, and it's like, you know, because you can do that. You can, like, every computer now comes with that. Everything has that. The magnifier that I use, it's native to Windows. I didn't have to like go out and get an extra thing. We already have this stuff. VoiceOver is built into like literally every Apple product now. It's a beautiful fucking thing. You can criticize Apple all you want, but it's great. They actually added a new feature to iOS 18 that I really, really love. And it's like, without using VoiceOver, you can actually like highlight text and like have it read it out to you without turning on VoiceOver. It's really, really nice. Like, it's really quick and convenient. It's really good for people that still have a little bit of vision that like can read but need to give their eyes like a temporary break or whatever.
Nice.
So, I don't see it being as useful to somebody that already uses VoiceOver full time. But for me, it's fucking fantastic. But again, We have this stuff. It's here. It's just the things that are being made aren't really being made with that in mind. And that's making it a lot harder for, people that need things made that way to actually participate. And the frustrating thing...
Ursa Major VT said there would have to be some fundamental changes to the attitude of people with disabilities playing games that may not be natively disability friendly.
It's... Unfortunately, this goes far deeper than just gaming. Which is upsetting in and of itself to me. Because, like... I don't know, how do I explain this properly? Oh, my brain is... I'm too tired for this. Because it's not even just like gaming that this affects, right? Like, it can be literally anything. Especially when we're talking about anything digitally. It's just not being made like with like the blind in mind or other disabilities in mind. And the frustrating thing is accessibility benefits everybody. Do you know how many people I've helped read their phone better? I literally had one of my mom's best friends came up to me one time and she's like, "You know smartphones, right? Can you make it easier for me to read my phone?" And she hands me a fucking Android phone and I'm like, I don't know Android, but like, let me dig around in your accessibility settings for a while. And she's like, "Why would I want that?" And I'm like, "You want it easier to read, right?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "So where else would you go?" You know?
Oof.
I'm like, if you want, like,
Ursa Major VT said, "Am I crazy? But I don't think that it's such an impossible task that we as a society to implement those changes."
It's not. People just... We're getting into cynical territory for me, to be honest with you. I'm gonna be completely real about that. But legitimately, like, I've helped family members and stuff like that just make their devices easier for them to see. And I'm like, if that's not accessibility, I don't know what is. And these people are sighted. They're not blind. They're not considered blind at all. But like, they still have certain needs that helps them visually, right? And I'm like, that's accessibility settings. You are now using some of the tools that I use on a daily basis. Congratulations, you might be kinda blind.
Hoorah.
You know? So like, I guess it's just sort of case in point. Accessibility can benefit literally everybody. So I genuinely don't understand why it's not more of a thing. It's more of a thing than it was when I was a kid, to be fair. We've made progress. Because let's be real, when I was like 5 or 6, they were like, "Oh, you're never really going to be able to use a computer the way like everybody else does." And maybe like not even 10 years later, I hear about JAWS for the first time. And now I'm sitting here with a very, very, very warm PC generating a lot of heat right next to me.
I like, so can you hear me?
Yep.
Fun thing about my JAWS experience, when I went to my school, when I transferred to my state school for the blind and my end of my sophomore year of high school, beginning of my junior, they're like, "Well, you need to learn screen reader." Well, they talked all about JAWS, but nobody wanted to teach me. Not even the person whose literal job was to teach students how to use JAWS. Yet they're like, "Oh yeah, you need to learn JAWS because it's the best." And at the time, NVDA was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And everyone's just like, "Ah, no, it's a joke. Why do you need it? We got JAWS." And so I played around with it. Like, literally, I remember one time we had this thing where we were in school, but we didn't have class. And we got to play around with stuff. So I was literally in the computer. I spent literally like 6 hours just teaching myself how to use NVDA, just playing around with it. And even though I didn't require it until a few more years, where my vision got to the point where I can no longer read print like text even on the screen, but I don't know, it's just kind of funny. It's just funny experience for me.
I just had a thought, speaking of screen readers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of a Discord that's been working on accessibility mods for like Minecraft
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. I know I've talked about Minecraft Access before,
My
but
leg.
that that's a different thing. But I know I've talked about Minecraft Access before. But for those who don't know, it basically allows somebody that uses NVDA specifically to be able to play Minecraft and have things read out to them
Said
and
my
stuff
leg.
like that. Y'all are on the same fucking wavelength and I love it. So I remember there was somebody in the Discord arguing that they should make it work with JAWS as well. Because in theory, like, make it work with everything. The problem is JAWS is not open source, whereas NVDA is. NVDA is also free. You can donate to them if you like, but it does not cost you anything to download it and use it.
Player said if I could ask a question about TTRPG world building. Would you say it's better to present an NPC with disabilities as equally as competent as any other character, or should one openly display their limitations? I.e. the blind monk trope of them being able...
Oh yeah, that cut off at the last moment. The blind monk what?
Blind monk trope of them being able to see just fine despite being visually impaired. That's the limitation of speech chat right there. Does not like long chat messages.
Yeah, that one's complicated because I've been working on my own world, my own setting for the past few years, off and on.
There's a balance there.
Yeah, there's totally a balance there. I think it depends on all kinds of things. That one's a tough one.
I think it's fair to say like a little bit of both, maybe.
Yeah.
It's highly dependent on context, but it's like, do your research on what you're trying to represent. And if you can...
Said I should have paid attention to the ad timer LMAO.
It's fine, I barely pay attention to the ad timer.
Ad timer?
Yeah, the ad timer on stream.
Ah. Going back to Brett for a moment. It's interesting when certain tropes about your disability, you get smacked in the face. In real life, I'm a pretty spiritual person. I won't go into detail. Don't worry. But there are certain vocations that I do for the things that I practice, and one popular trope that you see in when it comes to blind characters is the blind healer or like the blind mystic. And so there's been some situations where I in particular will go hang out with other people, and suddenly there's all kinds of assumptions made or expectations, and I imagine that that pops up sometimes with anybody with any kind of disability.
Tape player said ads over, didn't hear any of that answer.
Yeah, so basically my answer to your question was that there's kind of a balance. It's dependent, I feel like, on the disability itself that you're trying to represent. I think it's always a good idea to do a little bit of research and learn about and learn about it and try to learn from the community as well to like get an idea of what is okay and not okay to represent and try to figure out how to do that type of thing. There's definitely a balance because like I don't think that I don't think that you should shy away from limitations because like if you're disabled there are limitations type of thing. I don't know if I'm making sense.
You're making
like,
perfect sense. I need to mute for a moment so I can get my dog back inside. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. But there are also plenty of disabled people that are just really fucking badass and can handle everything like a fucking champion somehow. Which is, I'm not one of them, to be honest with you. But anyway, I feel like it's like a little bit of both type of thing, If that makes any kind of sense.
I totally agree with you.
I have a horror story about me playing a blind character in D&D. And Rob, I think you've heard this story before.
Mm-hmm.
There was one time me and a group of friends wanted to start a D&D campaign, and
Cave player said checks out, thanks for considering that.
Yeah, no worries. So a bunch of us were getting together to play D&D and stuff like that, and we decided that we were going to stream it. And I was playing a half-elf bard who was blind and stuff like that, and the DM's just like, oh, you're just going to have blind sight. It's fine. And I'm like, but I don't want that. It's like, no, it's fine. You're just going to have that. And that whole stream was an absolute fucking mess. The minute, one of our party members decided that they didn't want to stay in the mansion where somebody just got murdered, they tried to, like, basically do everything they could to force him to stay kind of thing, and it got so bad that literally 2 people left the game in the middle of the stream, and we had to call it off because it was just a nightmare. For whatever reason, we decided to give this kid another chance, and I kept my character because I really wanted to try it, and I just kept running into scenarios where, like, there was this point where we were in a library trying to gather information about stuff, and like, so like, I was just like, okay, is there anything that I can check out, anything that I can sort of look into or whatever? And like, the only thing I get in response is like, well, we don't have Braille, so you don't get anything. And he wouldn't let any of the other PCs, like, help my character out with that, so I was literally just forced to just sit there and wait for everybody else to get stuff, and I was just screwed out of it. It was awful. Like, I was just like, dude, this sucks. And then it turned into us getting railroaded through an entire dungeon. Literally, we got to this puzzle where, I'm not even sure what it was that we had to actually do. But as soon as I heard, oh, yeah, just keep rolling until you succeed, that kind of just, I was like, okay, what's the point of making us do the puzzle then if you're just gonna let us just succeed anyway? Just, why make us do the rolls at all? And then one of our characters got immediately sacrificed, and it turned out that there was a whole cult situation that we couldn't really deal with because we called off the campaign at that point because it was an absolute mess.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, I do remember you telling me that story, and that's not the first time I've heard a dungeon master basically absolutely made any attempt at playing a blind character as horrific as possible.
Because
There are so many.
it was just like anything that happened is like, oh yeah, you get nothing out of being at the library. You get nothing, like you just have blind sight. So like, the fact that you're blind like doesn't even really matter. And I'm just like, but that was like the whole, that kind of just erased the entire point of what I wanted to do, and you know, it was just kind of upsetting. I ended up retiring that character, so I just got really bummed about it. Thankfully, that's probably like my worst D&D experience, but you know, I feel like I got lucky in that regard. Good? Uh-oh. Did we lose you, Rob? I think we might have lost him.
Tiftifby said how to screw up a campaign in 8 seconds, if you ask me.
Honestly.
That guy sounds like a jerk.
Yeah.
Player
Yeah.
said some people have a strange relationship with difficulty in TTRPGs. The goal is to have fun, but I get the feeling fun for them is overcoming extreme odds. However, they never ask the group what it is to them.
Yeah, like that particular person, we gave them a second chance, but like it was pretty clear that they did not really do anything to improve. To be honest, I'm not even sure why I tolerated it for as long as I did. It was a mess, is what it was. Nothing short of an absolute mess. It's like, again, just roll until you succeed. Just don't even bother. Like, just if that's what you're gonna do, just don't bother with the rolls. Like, if that, just, it's not even D&D at that point. You're not doing anything. But like, I was just kind of relegated to just observing from the sidelines, and I'm just like, but I want to actually take part. And then it's just like, well, you're playing a blind character, so I was like, what do you mean? Do you wanna explain your bullshit? But anyways, I never finished what I was trying to say about the Minecraft thing. So going back to the whole Minecraft access thing, oh no, wait, no, I did finish talking about that. The argument between like JAWS and NVDA. So sorry, I'm all over the place right now, guys. The Minecraft Access mod only works with NVDA mainly because it's open sourced and
Tape player
stuff.
said roll till success IIRC is an old practice used as far back as AD&D, however it's something used as a time-saving device, not to nullify a core part of the system.
Yeah, like, it was just kind of like, my opinion is, if you're just gonna say roll until you succeed, just let them succeed. Just don't even waste the time. You know?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, finally. So what happened was I had to toggle mute to deal with my dog.
Gotcha.
And somehow Discord, even though I didn't do anything, Discord also muted me on Discord's end. So even though I was unmuting myself with my headset, you still couldn't hear me.
Yeah, Discord sometimes does shit like that. But anyways, as I keep trying to say,
Sorry.
there was this argument between whether or not Minecraft Access should work with JAWS and VDA or just JAWS.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, of course it can't work with both because the one's not open source, so they can't really work with it. But there was somebody in chat just constantly arguing, like, JAWS is the better screen reader. I think it's stupid that people are using NVDA. And I'm like, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. Some people prefer it. It has, you know... People use different tools for different reasons, and to give people shit for having a preference is just kind of not okay, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Stupid question. Are the scripts worth it? Like, how, like, I know you play a lot of Minecraft. Have you, I forget if you use a screen reader for Minecraft specifically.
I haven't been using the mod. I haven't been using the mod lately, but it does work. The way it it's not perfect because it's like they're trying to figure out the best way to, you know, give you the information of a 3D space in a 2D style setting type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit weird. There's somebody that keeps messaging me going like, how do you build? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. They're giving you all the information that you need. You just have to figure out how to like interpret it. Because you build by placing blocks. If you already know how to place blocks, you know how to build. It's just a matter of what you want to build and where to put them. That's up to you to figure out. But like, it won't tell you like,
Simon
oh,
Oma
you're in a field
said
with...
going to go now. Good discussion.
Alrighty. See you later, Simon.
Take care, Simon.
So like the game will tell you what biome you're in if you want to check that kind of thing, but it's not gonna like describe to you, oh, you're in like a forest and there's like trees to your left and right or whatever. It'll read out what blocks you're looking at and what direction that block is facing, like the side that you're looking at, rather. And stuff like that, so it's kind of up to you to kind of figure out based on that where you're at and stuff like that, and it can be very confusing. So I can understand why, you know, some people don't really love that, but it is playable, you know?
I might check it out at some point.
Like, the trouble is you have to, like, buy the game in order to be able to actually play it and stuff like that, and then you'll have to mod it from there, which modding it isn't difficult. Like, it can take some time, but yeah, it's worth a shot if you're willing to pay for the game. I can understand why you wouldn't want to, though.
Well, honestly, there are other games that I've heard people made accessible mods for that I'm more interested in trying out. That's kind of on the top of my list, but
that's fair. They've also
maybe at some point.
They've also been making mods for Stardew Valley, and even they've said that they've had an easier time making Stardew Valley accessible because it's a top-down style game.
Gotcha.
So, you know, that might be something if you're interested in checking out Stardew Valley.
I know the one I've been meaning to is World of Warcraft. That's kind of at the top of my list.
Gotcha. I know nothing about World of Warcraft, so I couldn't tell you anything about that. But yeah, moral of the story, don't give people shit for the tools that they use. If whatever you're using works for you, then it's the right tool. You know. Alrighty. You know what? I'm gonna be real with you guys. Unless there's something you would like to add, Rob, I'm feeling like we're about done, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else at the moment.
We've been here for like 2 hours, so... Also, it's getting really, really hot in my room, so... I'm really sorry about that, y'all. But you know what? Today has been awesome, aside from me being scatterbrained and tired. So... Yeah, I think we're gonna call it here for today. This has been amazing. I really appreciate everybody being
Tiff
here to participate.
Said this was fun.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah, it
gonna
was.
make sure to do more of these. Not specifically about disability rep, because I feel like we've definitely I'm definitely satisfied in what we've covered so far, unless other people have things that they'd like to contribute, in which case at this point it's gonna be up on, like, this will be up on YouTube
Tape
within
player.
the next couple of days.
Said thanks for the stream, learned a lot.
Heck yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for checking us out.
So for anybody watching this on YouTube after the fact, throw your thoughts in the comments. That would be very, very cool if we could continue this discussion just sort of casually or something.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and do my usual
Tape player.
before we
Said
end
I
off
have some
thing.
questions about invisible disabilities, but nothing fully formed.
Fair enough. I don't consider myself an expert when it comes to invisible disabilities myself, because mine's fairly obvious. But
I mean, I have a.
feel free to
Sorry.
ask. If you have questions, feel free to ask. We can keep going for a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know if I was. I'm still getting used to the mute toggle on my headset, but I'm no expert. I know a little bit because I have a couple. Well, one's. I don't know if it would be technically considered a disability. I know it more falls in incident, or it falls in minor brain damage, but it definitely. Well, dyscalculia does kind of count. So, yeah.
Like, I have a couple of friends. Like, my sister has fibromyalgia. My mom does as well, and stuff like that. And I know I have a few other friends that have it as well. But like, and I know of some of the struggles that they deal with, like constant pain being one of them. Constantly having to fight through that in order to even function, to the point where most people don't even believe that they have a disability in the first place, or just think they're being dramatic and stuff like that. And that's a constant issue that they have to deal with. I know that my sister in particular had a hell of a time getting like a walker to help her out sometimes. Like, sometimes she'll need it on days where she's particularly feeling like ass. And like, she'll use canes and stuff like that as well sometimes to help her out. Aside from that, I don't really know too much. But again, if you have questions, feel free to ask. But, or even, if you're not feeling up to asking now, you could always ask in the Discord. Because I know for a fact, I know for a fact there are people with invisible disabilities in the Discord that might be willing to answer your question? I can't speak for them, obviously, but maybe. So there's a place you could definitely go to ask. But for now, because I am very, very warm and honestly kind of uncomfortable. Unfortunately.
That's not good.
It's not the best, no. It's just because it's so fucking hot right now. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm feeling like we're done, to be honest. So thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate you. And yeah. Hopefully we'll see y'all in the next one.
Yeah, catch y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.